Turning my mic on would help. Yeah, just a little bit. Hola, hola. As you can see from the title, I got new stuff. Tinybadge, thank you. Sent me some ink samples because I loudly proclaimed I needed some inks that you can't just buy samples of on Slack. And so she was like, I can send you samples. And she did. She sent me the new Pen Addict ink, Robert Oster Fire on Fire, and KWZ Maple Red, which was the Scriptus exclusive. I haven't even swatched these yet. They're still parafilmed, so we're going to swatch these first. And then we're going to review them, or at least do writing samples of them. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for both of these. This one has been the new hotness for the past 2 weeks. So I'm curious to see how it looks compared to my 5 bazillion other oranges. I'm getting some blank. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need to break up my new coloring soon. Because I got another coloring in the wings, but I've got 5 blank cards left. So yeah. We're going to swatch these. Because like I said, I haven't even swatched them yet. I technically got them in the mail on Saturday, but my weekends are always crazy town. So they've just been sitting and not being used. So let's do Fire on Fire first because it's the lighter color ink. Oh, I'm glad. Looks like I'm glad you're liking the shading. I haven't even seen what it looks like yet, and so we'll see how I like it. I didn't want to buy a bottle because from the swabs Brad put up, I was like, I have literally 3 other bottles of orange that are close enough. I do not need another bottle, but a sample. I was like, yeah, I can do a sample. Samples are fine. So yeah, we'll see what it looks like. Mr. Fire on Fire Brad Dowdy. Hi, Anna. Yep, nope, nothing spilled. It all got here super easily. And thank you again, Tinybadge, for sending me these. Huh, that's a lot more obnoxious than the swabs that everyone else's swabs showed. It's literally Pen Addict orange is what this is. I look at this and I'm like, yes, that is the color of Brad's t-shirts and everything else Brad Dowdy branding. It is Pen Addict orange, even though it says Fire on Fire. You might as well just say Robert Oster, Pen Addict orange. Yep, got a drop. But yep. Yield Pen Addict orange. That's what I'm calling it. Yeah, that is actually definitely, for all the different colors of orange I have in my collection, this is actually a fairly distinct orange. I can already tell the difference between that and my other oranges. It's not quite as yellow as Sailor Apricot. Actually, what am I doing just sitting here saying it? I have my whole book of swabs. Okay, so we've started hitting things. Pelican Edelstein Mandarin. I mean, it is Brad's ink, but for a while there, Brad was resisting the idea of doing an orange. He was like, no, I can't be that stereotypical. Brad, no, you have to be that stereotypical. A little brighter than Edelstein Mandarin. So these were the 2 I was really interested in looking at. Apricot and Orange Soleil. It's a little less yellow than both of these, and actually a little less searing than especially the Orange Soleil. That was the one I was the most interested in seeing. Definitely more yellow in the Orange Soleil. And this one is more in your face bright than the Fire on Fire. Just by a hair. Actually, it might be closer to the Krishna ink. Yeah, it's actually really close to Krishna Palazza. Which, I mean, I have a bottle of Krishna Palazza. Oh, I haven't even really started yet, Rowell. Like, I'm just swatching these. So I'm comparing swatches. Like, I hadn't even swatched these before I started. So I'm comparing now. Inferno Orange. Yeah, no, these are much more red. I'd actually place it closest to Krishna Plaza. As you can see, Palazza has a bit more like shading and stuff going on here. I haven't actually done a written review of Palazza yet, but I've like just written with it. So we'll see. The Krishna inks have been... I do have Copper Orange. It's definitely nothing like Copper Orange. Not at all. Copper Orange has a pinkish hue to it and like a sheen. Very different. Which is unfortunate because Copper Orange is a great color. Waiting for a Copper Orange dupe. Lami. Yeah. Copper Orange should probably put that closer to like my corals because that's what it more is. So if you want me to compare it to anything else, like I said, it definitely belongs over here. Cornaline d'Egypte is a lot more brown. Cornaline d'Egypte. So it definitely belongs in this category with Pelican, Edelstein Mandarin, Orange Soleil, Sailor Apricot, Krishna Plaza. Krishna Plaza is the closest. These two are a little bit more yellow and bright. But the Krishna inks tend to be a little bit more viscous because they're very thick. Robert Oster inks don't tend to be that viscous, so we'll see how this comes across in writing. But so yeah. Okay, so other one that I'm gonna swatch is one that you cannot get. At least the Fire and Fire you can buy relatively quickly right now because Brad has no plans on like making it limited. This one was one of the Scriptus inks. The KWZ Maple Red. Like I said, have not even swatched these yet. So, I wanted a sample of this. Like, I had no desire to, like, go in the feeding frenzy. But I'm like, sample. I can do sample. Where's paper towel? So, yeah, I'm very interested to see what this one looks like, too. Just in general, the swatching is the part I'm always most eager for. Oh, that's pretty. That's really pretty. I'm now severely regretting not grabbing a bottle. Oh well, it's too late now. Scriptus was months ago. And I have a fairly full sample because Tinybadge is awesome. This will just have to go into my precious sample bin along with Noodler's Golden Aspen and KWZ Chicago Blue of show inks that I can't get anymore, but I happen to have a sample of. Yeah, that are just my precious. So, like, whew, man. What is it even close to? I don't even know. Okay, it kind of goes in this sort of category. I'm trying not to smudge it because it's still wet. It's actually fairly close to Rouge d'Orient. Slightly more orange. Like I said, try not to smear it. But actually close-ish. Maybe a little darker. Which, I mean, that doesn't help you at all if you're wanting to get a dupe of it, because this stuff is really only available in France and I guess Japan, and I want a full bottle of this real bad because it's fucking beautiful, but I guess that's better than not available at all. So yeah, actually as it's drying, because I can see it's less dense up here, so it's drying. it's actually getting more orangey as it dries. So that's actually putting it closer to red lustre, or actually a little bit Three Oysters Denchong, but this is way more chalky. This is way more rich. And then that pretty much runs out. I actually don't have a huge selection of reds in my swabs, which is surprising. I should get on that, getting more reds in there. It's also surprising because thank you, phone, for reminding me that I can indeed monitor my stream via... I mean, it's surprising because I do have a lot of reds because I went through a time where I was like looking for the perfect red, but all the reds were very like light and pinky. So in like this deeper dark red category, I got like 2. So I need to work on that because I do like deep dark reds. But yeah, oh my, this is gorgeous. And then Fire on Fire has dried close enough, except for this drop that got on there. And I can see what other reviewers were reporting, that there is on the very edges a very hint of a silver sheen. Like, hint. Like you can see that it's trying to do something funky on the edges, but it's not like screaming in your face, oh, I'm a different color now, sheen. So that might show up depending on your papers and just be like a subtle, like, oh, look, this is more than just an orange. And I don't have that sheen on any of my other oranges. I don't think. Let me double check. Sailor Apricot has a threatening sheen at the edges, but that's the only other one in this group. Krishna Plaza isn't doing that either. So that's, again, a special thing for Fire on Fire. So yeah, we've got these. I have them swatched. If you're wondering about my swatching materials, I had, you could probably see them as I use, but it's a cheap, just like watercolor paintbrush. And then this little fun dip pen that I found at an estate sale for 50 cents. And I keep those standard across my swatches. So all my swatches are swatched with this paintbrush and the writing samples with this dip pen, so that way it's consistent across swatches for comparing swatches. Because if you couldn't tell already from my ink reviews where I use the same paper and pens every time, I like to reduce my variables. I want to set this over to the side now, because now we're going to actually do the reviewing part. So we're going to do Fire on Fire first, because it is a lighter color. So that way, basically, Maple Red is more likely to contaminate Fire on Fire and affect the color than the other way around. So we'll do that. And this one's still drying. KWZ inks always are a little more viscous and take longer to dry. So I'm going to set this over here where I can't accidentally bump it or like spill anything on it. Just set this up here so you can sort of see what's going on, and then let's start filling things and see how this one writes. Robert Oster makes so many inks. I've had, most of his inks I've used have been great, but I've gotten some duds where it's just like painful to write with because they're so dry. What was it? The one I did like maybe 6 weeks ago, Maroon 18 something something. That one was unpleasant to use. Most of them are great, but you know, especially when you have as large of a catalog as Robert Oster, like the more ones you have, the more the more opportunity you give yourself to mess up. It's just more chances. That's just how the math works. And as always, the light orange ink looks fantastic in a demo, just because you can actually see through it. So it looks fun all sloshing around. I love putting these light color inks in demonstrators just because of that. It's like, ooh, sloshy, sloshy. Pen parts everywhere. And like I said, if you are just joining the stream and you see what ink we're using, we're currently using Fire on Fire. You want me to bring out my comparison swabs because it is the new hotness, I understand. like you're joining late or something, just pop in the chat, ask me to compare things, have everything right over here over to the side off screen. Can easily do that. I'll also see if I can flip real quick back and forth with my writing samples from my previous orange inks that I've done. That's going to be a little bit harder because most of them are bound up in notebooks, so it's going to be easier for me to bring up like scans. I could do the rodeo ones though, because those are loose leaf ones that I've washied into my Hippo Noto. So that'll be easy to do for writing sample comparisons rather than just swab comparisons. But I need to do the writing sample first. It's very important. So we've got fire on fire. Okay, now I need paper. Where's my paper? Here we are, Hippo Noto. So it's probably going to look a little weirder on this one because just in my experience, orange inks tend to look a little weird on cream papers, and this is indeed a cream paper. I need to sharpen my pencil real quick. Yeah, but I didn't find that Three Oysters ink particularly dry. I mean, maybe a tad. Like, it wasn't a gusher. But KWZ inks in general just tend to have some outstanding flow. Okay. So let's see. Actually, I'm going to do that so my arm oils don't fuck up the paper. I also just turned my mic closer to the notebook so you can hear the scritch scritch. I know this is the most exciting part of all my streams. Just watching me just like format my notebooks. Okie dokie. So, let's see. So I can already tell you, just from this, that it is 1, a bright searing orange ink, 2, Jacques Arbon Orange Soleil is superior in terms of flow, behaves better already. This feels more like Sailor Apricot a bit, but even maybe a little drier than that. Okay. Yeah, no, Three Oysters is definitely, if you're comparing it to Jacques Arbon and KWZ, definitely Three Oysters is drier. But those I've noted are just usually particularly wet inks. So it's not hard to be drier. Like, I'd put 3 oysters, the ones I've used at least, or at least Denchong, because marine green was really wet. Yeah, it's like midnight in France. Go to bed. Yeah, this is just like a straight up orange. Actually, I'm like really curious. I'm not even like done writing, but I want to flip back to, so this is a Sailor Apricot. I actually did this one last week. It looks very similar. Apricot's slightly more yellow in the writing sample. Where is Orange Soleil? Gotta flip back a bit. Barbasol. There it is. Orange Soleil also is much brighter in the writing sample. That's not coming across well on the video. But again, more yellow. But this one also flowed better when writing with it, even though it's like it was more enjoyable to use, even though it's a lighter ink, because the flow is just so good. But yeah, I'd put it very similar to those. But yeah, I thought this might be a dupe for Orange Soleil because that's what it looked like it might be, but it's definitely not. It's definitely not a little more toned down. I wouldn't say toned down. I don't know. Yeah, like maybe like a shade or two darker. Yeah, well, I don't have Kinmurasaki. It does look substantially different from Fire on Fire from what I can tell from other people's swatches. I do not have that one. Well, I guess Kinmurasaki is the one that's like close to apricot. You should be satisfied with that. I will give Brad credit though that he kept saying there's so many good orange inks out there. And yes, this is very close to a bunch of orange inks I have, but it's actually substantially different. Like like I said, it's not leaning a little bit yellow, it's not leaning a little bit red, it's just like orange. And it's pen addict orange. It's like you would think that niche would have been filled in the market, but it hasn't been, it seems. Like I didn't realize it hadn't been until he did this. And I'm like, good job, Mr. Dowdy. Not sure if it's enough for me to buy a bottle of it, because like I said, I have a lot of orange inks already. Bottles of them. But, you know, it did fill a niche. See, I don't ink up oranges that often either, but I have like several bottles. I just like orange. Okay. Now let's see how it looks in the Kikuyo. Oh, that looks real great on this paper. Like it looked okay on the cream paper, but man, this is really shining without that cream tint. Yeah, I would definitely, so performance wise, like how wet it is, how it like what is showing off this ink best, what papers it looked best on is very basically identical to Sailor Apricot. I would say this ink is just a slightly less yellow, slightly more true orange version of Sailor Apricot. If you already have apricot, you might be happy just sticking with apricot. If you want to support Brad Dowdy by buying his ink, or you just like orange inks and you just want all the orange inks, then get it. But if you don't, if you have a bottle of apricot and already don't ink it up a lot, admire this one from afar because you don't need this bottle in addition to apricot. Also, if you live in the EU, I would say instead of paying for the shipping across the ocean, buy yourself a bottle of Orange Soleil from Jacques Herbon over in ye old France. It's going to cost you about the same. And that's a really great ink. That performance is superior to the performance of this ink. Anyone new joining in? If you were doing Robert Oster Fire on Fire, the Pen Addict ink that came out recently, I compared swabs earlier, but if you want me to compare swabs again because you missed it, just let me know. Hey, 13, sorry. There we go. Front page story on the, I'm currently transcribing an article from yesterday's Sunday paper. Basically the headline article was about how Georgia farmers have been fucked over just by everything happening right now. Weather, all the political fights are just like nailing the Georgia agriculture industry. Or just agriculture in general. But it was a little bit on the front page. So like little bit with big headline photos and big headline, and then it was like the bulk of the article is on page A13. So it was like flip, 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 flip. Yeah, no, that looks real great. Like I said, it's in the similar searing orange category, but it doesn't lean yellow. It doesn't lean red, even just slightly. It's just straight down the middle, orange, Pen Addict, orange, which is what you would expect. You would expect Mr. Pen Addict Brad Dowdy to release a Pen Addict orange ink, and that's exactly what he did. I'm looking now to see if I have... it does have some great shading, I will tell you that. So akin to other orange inks in this category. Not seeing that sheen that I saw a little bit of on the swab, but that's to be expected. It was a very hint of potentially trying to do something neat sheen. Nothing too crazy. Okie dokie. So this is the true one that I've been waiting to get to because I always do everything in the same order. So that way I got the same flow for cross comparison purposes. One, this one always shows up best on the webcam, but two, because it's these little pads, that's going to make it way easier for me to compare writing samples for you guys. Here we are. So these are the ones that were the comparisons of interest. So this is between, trying to hold these up for you, Sailor Apricot, which I did last week, and the Pen Addict one. You can see that the apricot is substantially, well, not substantially more yellow. It's a little bit more yellow, but actually I would say looking at these now, it's more just the apricot is maybe a shade lighter than the Pen Addict. Or maybe just like a tick closer to true or to yellow than the Pen Addict, the Fire on Fire. But especially in the wet pen, you can see the differences if they're side by side, but only if they're side by side. If you were to not have any context seeing these inks being written down, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them. You'd just be like, oh, that's a neat orange ink. Their performance is very similar. Actually almost identical performance-wise. It's just the shade is slightly off. And this one has the Sailor ink smell. This one doesn't because it's Robert Oster. The other one is that we were looking to compare is Jacques Arbon Orange Soleil. Again, Orange Soleil is a slightly different shade of orange. It's slightly lighter. Orange Soleil is definitely more searing. Soleil means sun in French, and they definitely live up to that. It definitely has a more distinct yellowness to it than the Pen Addict one, but the performance of the Orange Soleil is superior. I can say that right off the bat. The flow is superior. Everything is superior about the Orange Soleil inks. Those Jacques Arbon inks are so damn good. Everyone giving them shit for charging that much, it's warranted. They got damn good inks there. None of them are duds. The performance is all amazing. So Yeah, I would, like, you can see this one's maybe, this one's a little more yellow, this one's more true orange. Actually, as long as I have these out, let's compare the Sailor Apricot and the Orange Soleil. Orange Soleil is actually a little even more yellow than the Apricot, slightly, but again, superior performance on the Orange Soleil. So what I would say then is if you already have either Apricot or Orange Soleil and you don't use orange inks that often, be happy with your bottle. Maybe ask someone to send you a sample of Fire on Fire if you're really curious, which is what I did. Because I definitely don't need a full bottle of this because I have a full bottle of this one. But if you don't already have orange this color, and like I said, this is more true orange than either of these, even if very so slightly, then go for it. If you're in the EU, these two are close enough. It's going to probably cost you about the same, if not more, to buy the Fire on Fire than the Orange Soleil with shipping across the ocean. I'm not sure how, it probably is going to be about the same with the shipping differences. This one has better performance. Buy this one from France. Yeah, so let's get to the shitty paper test, shall we? Because that's always a crapshoot, and I'm always interested to see how that goes down. Gotta put all my stuff back. Sorry, things are falling over and I needed, there we are. Okay, shitty paper time. Shitty paper, who knows how it will do? It's always a mystery. There it is. Yeah, just shit fell down all over the place when I was doing that. Okay. Okay, so let's see how this does on shitty paper. So the good news is it's just as vibrant on shitty paper as it is on good paper. Okay. So that was actually really in the dry pen. That's really nice on the shitty paper. At least from the front. Also looking good on the regular writer. Not really seeing much in the way of feathering, which is great. Now let's see the wet writer. This always destroys the paper. Just like without fail. Okay. Feathering is actually really, like, minimal on the wet pen on the shitty paper, which is unusual. Normally it's just like, blah. Just look at the back. That's really good. Holy shit. That's one of the best performers I think I've ever seen in terms of on this shitty paper. I mean, obviously, that's a problem down here with the blade through, but that's always an issue with the wet pen and the blade through. And now I knocked things over. But yeah, no, that's really damn good performance. Like, good job, Mr. Toaster. Yeah. So we're done with Fire on Fire, which means that I'm gonna empty it into the pens. We're gonna clean the pens. And I actually brought my cleaning stuff over from the bathroom, so we're gonna have one of those sessions where I clean the stuff live on camera. Sorry, I was messing with the mic angle again because I don't like to have the mic pointing down for when I clean stuff because that increases the likelihood that I dump water all over it. Which would be a bad thing, clearly, to dump water all over expensive electronics. No one wants that. Well, maybe the mic company does, so that way I buy more of their stuff. But that's like a weird business model, I would say, to like hope your customers destroy your expensive electronics. Okay. So yeah, Brad did good. Now the real question is, where the hell in all my samples am I going to put this? Because I'm running out of room in my sample boxes. So I need to investigate where I have room. I kind of have room. I think I have room in this box. Oh, I do. I have exactly 2 spots in this box. Oh, geez. I need to buy more of these boxes. Or I should give away a bunch of samples, but that would be too logical to give away samples that I don't have room for. So this is interesting. Remember how I like dropped like a big old drop of it just like as I was filling? That I can definitely see the sheen in, and it looks much darker, but like it never looked like that in writing. So this whole, the rest of it is more what you're going to see when you write with it. I'm going to set that off to the side, and now we got... Sorry, this is going to be a little bit of a production. Because I got to put the old towel down in case of spillage. Because I know myself, and I will probably spill. Okay. So yeah. Actually, really quick, I'm going to go run these under the sink because that usually gets off most of the excess. So I'll be right back. Okie dokie. I also had to microwave my tea. That was very important because it was cold. Because I was too busy focusing on inks. So yeah. I guess. Good ink. Washed off really easily. At least the sink wash. Yeah, there's still a lot of excess floating around in there. The other orange inks I've had have been a little bit easier to clean than this. Like, usually they're already basically clean after running them under the sink. So I don't know what that means. That it's a little bit harder to clean than most orange inks. But orange inks are always usually like stupidly easy to clean. So I guess this is just more like normal cleanliness or normal ability to clean. I don't know. We're not having any weird funkiness happening with the, like sometimes when you get sheening inks, they'll do weird things to the camera. Like the camera will pick up different pigments and color refractions. Not seeing any of that this time, so this is just a normal ink. Good. Oh no, pilot feed, don't get stuck. I need you. There we are. Swirl that around one more time. Make sure we get everything out. Okay. Don't you love watching me clean pens? Isn't this exciting? This is why, like, sometimes I'll opt to just, like, throw up the BRB sign and come back to this later. And, like, just do it in the bathroom real quick. But today I felt like just hanging out with you while I clean pens. Slash, I actually remember to bring all the shit over before I started the stream. That makes a huge difference. Because if I already have to stop in the middle of the stream to go get all this stuff, I'm like, I might as well just throw up the BRB sign and clean in the bathroom. Yeah, this is definitely harder to clean than most orange inks. Because it's taking a lot more flushes to get everything out than it normally does for oranges. Oh, thank you. This is just like a Sally Hansen one. It's like one of like the cheap ones. It's like $2. It's I think like golden number 1 or something like that. Yeah. It's a very good polish. Get it at Walmart, get it at Target, get it at CVS, I don't know, wherever you buy your big box store polishes. It's in a like roundy bottle, the skinny roundy bottle. What is it? The Heart Extreme Wear or something? Like I said, it's the cheap line from Sally Hansen, and it looks real good. And it applied really well too. Like for all that I do admire indie polishes, sometimes like the big box store ones do it well. Especially for like creams. Like just your basic solid colors, I never quite understood why you would buy like the indie polish version of it, because it's just like a basic color that you're going to be able to get at your store, your regular store, for like $2 usually. Okie dokie, so we are done. Now this is always the hard part, is moving everything like off screen without like spilling a shit ton of stuff, because now there's water in the bowl. Okay. That actually went fairly smoothly in terms of moving things. Oh no, things almost fell down. There was almost a disaster. Like, I lied. Things almost went horribly. Oh yeah, no, indie polishes are definitely where you go for like, if I'm gonna buy an indie polish, better have a ton of crap in it. Or do something weird. If I want a cream, just like a solid color, I'm going to go big box. For the one exception is I bought like a 3-pack from like Different Dimension of different creams that were like autumn colors, because they were on sale for like 10, like it was on sale enough from an indie brand that it was on par with the big box brands. And I was like, cool, I can do that. Okay. Okie dokie. Do we have everything out of these feeds yet? I think so. They look pretty dry. Okay, time to start reassembling pens. Always a fun time. Cool. Okay. Okay, now we're going back to the other one. So Maple Red, I'm looking to see how it looks like now that it's actually dry. So it dried, it went down a lot more like red than it dried. It dried a lot more like orangey, or like with a hint of orange, hint of brownish thing going on. It actually might actually compare better to my like reddish. Yeah, this is where it goes. Just thinking of where it would go in like all my coloring stuff. So like with the reddish brown, so Noodler's Antietam, Ancient Copper. Canyon Rust is actually real close. Canyon Rust is definitely more distinctly brown in the writing, but like Ancient Copper is fairly close. Or Sailor Mars, nah, that's a little bit too like orangey. Yeah, that's more brown. Yeah, it belongs in this like reddish, like copper, like dried blood sort of area. Oh, Goldfish Gold. Again, I think Ancient Copper is probably the best comparison between the two. I like Maple Red more because it's got more of a red tint to it. But I mean, I got a bottle of Ancient Copper, so I probably don't need a bottle of Maple Red. Let's see what it looks like in the writing sample. But this whole process did reinforce that I need more dark red inks. Even if this didn't dry as dark red. I haven't had nib crud with my Ancient Copper. I had nib crud with my Diamine Sunset. But not Ancient Copper. I know it does that, and it does that for many people. But it has not for me. But yeah, Sunset did it so badly that I had it inked up in my Lamy Vista. I was taking notes in class, and like I uncapped it and it was cruddy. And like as I was like writing notes in class, it was visibly like forming crud on the nib. Like I had to wipe it off several times over the course of like an hour and a half class. It was bad. Then that ink ended up molding on me, so there might have been other issues with that ink. Thank God that didn't knock the vial over. That was a close one. Where was I looking? Yeah, this one is definitely thick like most KWZ inks are. You can just tell from the way it's like sticking to the pen barrels and stuff. Okay, so let's move that over to the side. Then unearth all our stuff for writing more writing samples. Things are falling out. Okay. Let's see how Maple Red writes. I'm off somewhere. Yeah. One thing with doing so many of these reviews is you know where you should end on the page when you draw your little lines to divide up your sections. It's like, I am off by a line somewhere. Still need to count. I can't just like visually go. But oh, this is real lovely. Super wet already, I can tell, which is standard for KWZ inks, but it's still like, doesn't make it any less pleasant to write with when you first ink something up. This is just, I am loving writing with this. Holy shit. I'm regretting even more not going for a bottle. Oh, man. Oh, well. Maybe they'll reissue it. They did it with the Twilight, whatever. I don't know. I'll just hoard my sample. Oh man, this is just a lovely ink. I'm loving writing with it. The shade is gorgeous. It flows great. Just kicking myself for not grabbing a bottle. Like I knew when I saw the swabs and everything coming out at the time that I was like, I really dig that. But was like, I won't go in the frenzy and go for a bottle. It'll be fine. Like I won't want it. Like it's just a FOMO thing. I'll be fine without it. Nope. Should have listened to myself. Yeah, I'm just going to be spending this whole review sighing and lamenting the fact that I didn't grab a full bottle of this. Because damn. Look how pretty that is. Look how pretty. Pretty. Now, in contrast to the Pen Addict ink, this ink isn't as pretty on the white paper as it is on the cream paper. The cream paper brings out some of the just like autumnal fall aspects, like tones in this maple red that just make it gorgeous. Different colors, different inks look different on different papers. That's why I do the different papers. Also because I had a bunch of different papers and that I wasn't using. Okay. Sorry, I need to range. So pretty. So pretty. The shading is really fantastic on this. It's just stunning. Like, Okay. And the flow is fantastic, as I said earlier. It's like it's a KWZ ink. KWZ inks tend to be hella wet and just flow great and everything. Yep, look how pretty it is. Look how pretty. So pretty. You can tell that one's wet still. Because that's... why didn't I buy the bottle? Like I said, that's just going to be this whole thing. Is me going, I should have bought a bottle. I should have bought a bottle. I should have bought a bottle. It's too late now. Okay. This one, I'm already seeing some bad feathering with the dry pen, which isn't unexpected from KWZ inks. That is actually tracks with how they usually perform on the shitty paper, but it's still, after how well the Fire on Fire performed, it's just like, oh yeah, back to reality. Yeah, it doesn't look as good on the shitty paper, though actually the feathering is actually pretty comparable between these two. Not actually seeing a significant uptick in feathering terribleness with the regular writer. Okay. So feathering is pretty standard bad with the wet pen. Let's see what it looks like with all the bleed through and fun stuff. Yeah. It's not great. It's nothing. It's still nothing has so far topped the Diatramentus Underwater Black Blue and how terrible it performed on this paper. This is more like standard terrible performance because it's terrible paper. Okay, so we're about done for today. I'm going to empty out my pens, and then instead of cleaning them here, I actually need to get going. It is my daddy's birthday today. Happy birthday, Daddy. But I actually going to do a thing for him for his birthday this evening, and I am running a little later than I anticipated doing the ink stream. So I'm going to empty these pens and then skedaddle. Because, like I said, Dad birthday. It takes priority. Thank you for joining me. Hope you guys found all the swabbing and stuff informative. I know I did. Because I was really curious about the Fire on Fire, how it compared to all the other orange inks. So again, thank you, Tinybadge, for sending me these 2 samples. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so I'll see you guys all next week. Again, my work schedule is weird. I don't know if hopefully I'll be here on Monday, but it depends on how things work out. So again, I'll tweet it out, announce it, put it in the little info thing tab and everything. Yeah, so yeah, thank you for joining me. Have a great rest of your week. Bye!